Hey everyone, welcome back to another Clara.io video. In this one, I'm going to take what I've shown in my previous videos in modeling, and I'm going to kind of put them together to make something a little more fun, a little more practical. I'm going to be using the extrude tool, the inset tool, and the bevel tool to help you make a landscape today. So let's get started. We're going to come up here and I'm going to start with a plane. Usually, in most of my videos, I start off with a cube, but in this one we want a plane for pretty obvious reasons. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll bring it up here above the grid so you can see. Alright, so the first thing you need to do is we're going to be pushing and pulling this geometry around. We're going to be pushing it up and down so that we can make hills and valleys and things for the landscape. To do that, I'm going to come up here to the top left, and where mine says realistic, yours might say wireframe. You want to turn on show edges. Okay, I'm going to go back to realistic, and my show edges is turned on. And with the plane still selected, over here on the right, you're going to see width segments and height segments. So I'm going to go ahead, and if I increase this from 1 to 2, 3, you'll see that the slices and edges are increasing there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to increase that to about 10. And then I'm going to do the same thing for about the height segments. Typically, when you're doing this, you want the height and the width to be the same. There's not too many reasons where you'd want them to be different. Okay, so now that I have more geometry, I can basically start to shape this a little bit. So now I'm going to come up here, and underneath the Tools tab, I'm going to change from the Object Select mode. I can go to Face Select, Edge Select, and Vertex Select. In this video, I'm going to start off with Vertex Select. So now what I can do is I'm going to go around and I'm just going to start pushing and pulling. So I can select these vertices by doing a couple of things. I can click and then hold down the Control key, and that allows me to select more than one. And if I select, let's say I select these 4 over here, I can then just go ahead and grab them and pull them on up. And you'll see that now I'm getting sort of this little hill here. Okay, and so from here you can just pretty much just go and grab and do whatever you want. So again, remember to select something. Gets in the way. To select something, it's click select and then Control select to add to the selection. And so now I'll grab those. I'll just move that up a little bit as well, like that. Now the other thing I can do is I can click and drag a selection box, and then that will select a bunch of them as well. And so I can do that, and I can just start sort of misshaping this a little bit. Remember that if you select multiple vertices, you can deselect by holding down the Alt or Option key if you're on a Mac, and then you can click. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pause, and I'm going to do a little bit more here. Okay, so I've just gone through and I'm just kind of shaping some of the edges there. I don't know, it's important to me. So just remember, Control click to select if you want to, or sorry, click to select, Control click to select more, Alt click to deselect. Okay, and of course you can do the select box to select more than one. Okay, so at this point I feel like I'm moving a little slower because I'm working in vertex mode. So now if I switch to edge mode up here on the top left, now it's a lot easier. Instead of having to select 2 vertices, I can just select one edge, and I can start making like a series of hills and canyons and things like that. So I'm just rotating and orbiting around, just kind of looking at my landscape here. Okay, so that looks pretty good. All right, so now what I'm going to do is now I'm going to do some more modeling. And so for that, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to face mode. And this gives me access to extrude, inset, and bevel. So I want to go ahead and make, I'm going to drag this face up. And then I'm going to extrude a little bit. And then I'm going to bevel. And remember that when you bevel, it extrudes and goes up a little bit. And I want to make this into a volcano type thing. So to go downwards to make the volcano, I'm going to extrude one more time, but this time instead of going up, I'm going to go down and in. And then an added touch is I'm going to switch to the scale tool, and I'm going to scale inward by clicking and dragging on this little white circle in the center here. And what that does is you can see it makes it smaller and makes the face and makes everything kind of come in a little bit more like a mountain. Okay, so we'll see what that looks like. So I'm going to make a couple more little mountains, but not volcanoes. So again, I'll do an extrude. And maybe I'll do a little scaling just to make it come in a little bit more like a mountain. Do a little bit more beveling. Okay, I'll do another one over here. Extrude. Scale and a bevel. Okay. So you can see here I selected the whole mountain by click selecting, but I also got some of the land here. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key. That's an Option key on a Mac. And then now it deselects everything else, and just now the mountain is there. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drag the mountain a little bit further down and maybe scale the whole thing down a little bit, just so it looks a lot different than the other mountains. Okay, so that's not too bad. I obviously could go in and do a whole lot more, do some more detailed stuff. Maybe I'll go back to like edge mode here and edge mode, and I could go around and just select some of these. I just kind of rough up the land a little bit, make it more interesting. Especially if I was going to put characters on this, I would want to have it be a little bit more interesting. Okay, so the finishing touch here is that this is very low poly. This is something you might see in like a Minecraft or something, but we want to make it look better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here under the Tools tab. I'm going to go to Object Selection Mode, and now the whole object is selected, and I get a new set of tools over here. And the tool that I want is called Mesh Smooth. And when I click on that, you can see it already looks better. It looks more organic, it looks smooth. There is now more geometry, and it's more rounded, so you can see where it is. Now, let's say you're looking at this and you decide, I wish I did more, or I wish I did something different. The way you're going to fix that is you're going to come look over here on the right, and you want to come to the category called Poly Mesh. If it's closed, click it to open it. And what you can do is you can come over here on this whole list. This is a huge list of everything you've basically done to the object. And right here you see it says Mesh Smooth. Next to Mesh Smooth, I can click on the eyeball to unhide it. And then I can click on the little X to delete it. And when I delete it, now I can go back and I can make changes. So I could go back and I could say, all right, I really want to take this, I I really want to take this edge here and I want to manipulate it. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that one up. This one here I'm going to bring a lot higher up. And you can do whatever you want to your geometry. Then when you're done and you're all happy with it, you can come back here to Object Select Mode and do the Mesh Smooth again. And now you're going to see the changes again, but with the edits you've made. The last thing I'm going to show you here is that you can leave it like this. However, once you've done the Mesh Smooth, over here on the right-hand side, you'll see a setting that says Subdivisions. And Subdivisions means how detailed this is. So right now it's set to 1. If I set it to 2, you can see it gets even smoother and rounder, but I get more geometry. I wouldn't go any higher than 2, especially for people that are making video games like my students are in class, because the more geometry you have, the slower your game is going to run. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to leave mine at 1. All right. I hope this tutorial helps you out. I cannot leave it at simple gray. I'm going to go down here under materials and give it something a little bit more dirt-like. There we go. And I'll turn off, I'll come up here to where it says realistic, turn off show edges, so you can basically see a little bit better. Now you may notice as you're orbiting around that we don't have a bottom side to our landscape there, and that's actually okay because in the video game engine, you would not see that side anyway, so the computer doesn't need to make it. All right, I hope this helps you out, and I will see you next time. Thanks, everyone.